Hello, everybody. We've still got a show that promises to be mildly interesting for your listening and watching enjoyment. Every law firm seems to be interested in AI virtual receptionists as a potentially massive cost-cutting maneuver. I've checked out some of these services, and I have some thoughts. After that, we've got Eli Angote of The Best Notary, who talks to us about virtualizing the estate planning process and remote notarization. Lastly, I quiz Eli about weird things that people have added to their wills. Now, from the files of AI Ain't Ready for All That Yet, I've got a lot of law firms that are interested in virtual receptionist services that are AI based. And it's probably not surprising figuring out why that's the case. Probably the biggest thing is that there are potentially massive cost savings in play. If you have virtual receptionist services that you use for your law firm, you know that they can be pretty expensive. The numbers tend to rack up the more calls you get, and it is a big expense for a law firm that especially does marketing, paid advertising, and gets a lot of calls. Not only calls from potential clients, calls from actual clients. You know how it is. If you're a busy firm, your phone's ringing off the hook. So if you don't have to pay people to answer the phone, virtual receptionists or internal personnel, then you're cutting out a significant portion of your overhead. The other thing is consistency. So an AI agent that's programmed for your law firm's needs, more on that in a bit, you're playing a little less agent roulette than you would be with a virtual receptionist service. Now, I like virtual receptionist services. I recommend them for law firms, but you don't know necessarily who's picking up your phone at any given time. This is not like hiring an administrative person to be your receptionist / gatekeeper who sits in your office. Like, you may have a script that you provide that vendor, but the person who's picking up the phone may be different every time. The third thing, and maybe the biggest part of this, is one of the coolest parts about AI virtual reception and its potential is that you've now got essentially an intelligence that can speak any language at any time. So you're not out there in the job market looking for a receptionist who can speak English and Spanish or whatever other language combinations you're looking at. You've got a polyglot AI that can answer a call and decipher any language and have a conversation in that language. That is truly impressive. So that all sounds really good, right? You're probably like, yeah, it's a great idea. Now, here's the issue. I've vetted some of these providers and I have some concerns. So what I wanted to do today is to offer a public service announcement, much like Jay-Z. I'm speaking directly now to anyone who would want to create an AI-based virtual receptionist service that they're selling to lawyers. There are apparently a lot of folks doing that. The challenge is that none of them, at least the ones I've talked to, have a good sense of what lawyers need to do in terms of ethics, rules, and professional responsibility. So let's go over two big things with some subcategories, and then we'll talk about a logistical issue. First is that pretty much every AI virtual receptionist service that I've talked to, they are requiring call recording, which may be because that's the way the system works as they built it. And it may be because they just want to turn on call recording because they think it's a cool idea. I can get a transcript and I can do a bunch of things with that transcript. That is true. That's a really cool idea. However, there are some legal issues with that if you're building one of these softwares, you should at least be aware of. The first is that there are two types of states in the United States in terms of recording permission. There are one-party states where only one party to the conversation needs to give permission to record the meeting or phone call. And there are two-party states where both parties need permission. So if you're setting up a system like this, you have to understand which states are one-party states, which states are two-party states, and what that means for your software. Under the regulation is an AI entity, even a party as defined under the law. It probably depends on the state, and in most cases, maybe not. Now, if I'm a vendor and I'm working with attorneys, regardless of the state they're in, I want to be able to set up a disclaimer or a disclosure anyway. So I need to be thinking about how do I acquire, consent from the person who's on the other line, the lead, the client, whoever that AI virtual assistant is talking with, because lawyers are going to want that consent anyway. And if you're on recording systems on virtual meetings, you know that everybody's being asked whether or not they're okay with recording anyway as a feature of that system, regardless of what state you're located in. The other thing to be thinking about as a vendor is, do attorneys even want recordings? Because if I'm an attorney and I've got a lead, let's say, that I don't have an attorney-client relationship with, more on that in a second, what if somebody's disclosing confidential information to me? Do I even want a record of that? I may not. So this is a consideration you're going to want to wrestle with, and that you're going to want to be able to have a conversation around with your potential leads, your clients, the lawyers. Now, the second thing, which I think is one of the biggest issues with AI virtual reception, is this notion of creating an inadvertent attorney-client relationship. So in this instance, you're outsourcing the conversation to an AI. That has fewer rails than a scripted conversation, or even in a lot of cases, someone on your team talking to a client or a lead in this case, because they're probably going to want to err on the side of caution. And if they have questions, or if they think a conversation is going too far and they're veering into offering legal advice or suggesting that client's already represented by lead's already represented by the firm, say I'm doing it myself, they're going to go to an attorney and ask the question. So if a client believes that there's an attorney-client relationship with the firm, you may be on the hook for ethical malfeasance, even if you don't think you represent that client or offered to represent that client. So let's say somebody calls your office, they are under the reasonable belief that they are a client of your firm, and they blow a statute of limitations on a personal injury case and they file an ethics complaint against you. You may be on the hook for that if you've inadvertently created this attorney-client relationship as a lawyer. So if you're building one of these tools and you're talking to lawyers, this is a conversation you're going to want to have. How is the AI tool controlled in such a way that is not going to create these inadvertent attorney-client relationships outside of a totally scripted environment, or outside of a situation that the attorney controls with their employee or staff person? And in a lot of cases, you got to be thinking about what disclaimers you'd add here as well. So would your system be able to provide a disclaimer that says, hey, during the course of this conversation, understand that there is no attorney-client relationship that is being formed, and that will only happen when you sign an engagement agreement with the law firm, yada, yada, yada. All right, so those are the two big ethics issues you want to know about. And then there's a third ethics issue that's more generic. If you're a legal tech software builder, startup, especially if you're in a virtual space, but also any kind of legal tech that you're building. Attorneys have software vetting requirements generally based on the ethics rules. So every ethics rule requires that an attorney have a reasonable understanding of legal technology, including the technology that they use or will be using. There's an implied vetting requirement there that if you're buying a software product or demoing a software product, that you got to understand how it works. And that includes how that software treats data security and data management. Now, there are specific state laws as well in some states that require business owners to vet software for data security. That's the case in Massachusetts, where I live. Basically, we have a data security statute, and if you're buying a software in the state, even if you're an attorney, you basically have to determine that the vendor is going to uphold the laws of the state in terms of data security. And so those are questions you're going to want to be asking as an attorney. And if you're one of these software vendors, those are questions you got to be ready to answer when attorneys ask them. So having those conversations will center around how you manage data, how you keep data secure, because remember, attorney data is highly confidential. What do you do about data ownership? Who owns the data? It's got to be the law firm, right? What does your terms of service reflect in terms of that conversation? You want to have answers ready about how you do security audits. You want to have answers ready about the security certifications you have and what ones you're getting. So you want to be thinking about that as you make pitches to law firms. One of the challenges is there are a lot of folks out there who want to sell software to lawyers because they think lawyers are marks. They think lawyers have a lot of money. They think lawyers don't understand technology. And so you got people coming from outside the industry who want to sell products into the industry, but don't necessarily understand the ethical and legal obligations that lawyers have when it comes to utilizing software, especially software that's so new and untested as virtual AI receptionists. So you're welcome, folks. That's some free advice. Oh, and if you are an attorney and not a software developer, now you get a list of things that you can ask your potential vendors about. Next, if you're sick of signing meetings, you're going to want to listen up because we've got Eli Angote of the Best Notary. It's a real hoot, so stay tuned. Well, I've effectively run out of things to say, which is awkward because this is a podcast. So I will simply now play the kazoo, and I can take some requests. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm just fucking around. That sounds terrible. Maybe we should interview a guest instead. The good news is we have a great guest for today, and that's Eli Angote, the CEO at the Best Notary. Not even the second best notary. The Best Notary. Eli, how's it going, man?
Oh, it's going amazing. So happy to be here. Ever since I saw this on LinkedIn, I'm like, I would love to be a part of this.
Great. All right. That's not bad.
Legal late night. How can it go? What can go wrong? Legal late night.
Everything. Everything can go wrong. Hopefully not today.
Yes.
So I was reading your LinkedIn profile the other day, and what I loved is you described yourself as a polyglot. And I was talking to my kids the other day, and I was like, I'm trying to encourage them to do more things and, expand their horizons. I'm like, you guys should be polyglots. And they were like, what is that? So what is your polyglot experience? I know you threatened to maybe spit some bars here during the podcast when we talked on the phone. It seems like you play the piano. Like, what do you got going on?
Yeah, I like to get some R&R, doing things like, deepening my French, language proficiency.
Yeah.
So the polyglot, basically it's a person who speaks multiple languages.
Yeah.
I don't know what point is it when you get to 3 or 4, but, because when you speak 2, you're bilingual, right? You speak 3, you're trilingual. So maybe, when you...
Is there a quadlingual, or is that when you hit the polyglot level?
I feel like at some point you kind of make that jump. So I speak 5.
That's impressive, man.
I felt qualified to call myself a polyglot. I don't know who is handing out the certifications. But
you got me beat.
Yeah. It's, partially because I was born in Kenya, Jared. So everyone there typically grows up. If you're lucky enough to go to elementary school at above, you're going to learn English in elementary, right? Because Kenya is a British colony, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I grew up speaking at home Swahili and Kikuyu. So Swahili is what everyone speaks.
Yeah.
That would be like English here in the US.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kikuyu is my mom's, native language,
Gotcha.
There's a tribe called Kikuyu, so I spoke Kikuyu pretty fluently. I'm actually right now taking lessons every other weekend with my Kikuyu teacher so I can bring it back.
Oh,
So I
that's
could
cool.
speak it as fluently as I did when I was a kid. It's been a lot of fun. I actually just had a lesson on Sunday, and my Kikuyu teacher gives me these cool proverbs, Kikuyu proverbs that are really epic. I'll drop one a little bit later that I just learned
Oh,
yesterday.
great. Yes. Fill the
So
suspense.
yeah. So right, Kikuyu, English, and Swahili, right off the bat, right. Those are my native languages. I spoke all three. And then before I came to the US to study computer science, I took 3 months of French at Alliance Française, which is a French organization, community organization.
Yeah.
So I learned enough to be slightly dangerous in those 3 months, slightly.
That's
And
funny.
then at some point, as life took its turns, and I went from computer science to economics to wanting to go to law school, and ended up finishing up my undergrad in Spanish. So that I'm definitely more than dangerous in Spanish because I have a degree in it. So I got deep into the language, into even what was the study? Syntax. It was a very cool course we took that goes into like how words are formed, how sounds become words.
Oh, that's cool.
Right? A sound is called a phoneme. Okay. And then if you combine multiple phonemes, right, you start to build up all these words. I think it was called Spanish morphology and syntax.
Oh, wow.
So I got the Spanish down. And then I'm like, wait a minute, now that I have the Spanish down, let's circle back to French.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're very similar.
Well,
right?
those Romance languages, like once you
languages, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once you figure one out, you got the key.
So went through Duolingo from beginning to end. I got through the whole thing. And then I chased that with a teacher at San Francisco who basically I met like every other weekend. And then I also had a teacher online through an app called Verbling who I practiced French with. And then I met my partner, Stephanie, in 2019. And she, had majored in French. She's a double major, French psychology. And she'd lived in France for a year. And so we speak French all the time. We watch French shows. So the French is now to the point where I can hold a very
That's pretty good, man.
Yeah. So that's how I got to the polyglot.
I purposely took ancient Greek and Latin so I would learn languages I would never have to speak.
Smart move.
What's
you call yourself a scholar.
I'm a polyglot. I just read them. I can't speak them.
Love that. That's a good one.
What's next on your list? Do you have a next language that you want to learn?
I've got this really good. So my little brother's in Germany, so that could be good.
Oh man, German's tough. Lots of compound words. Yeah,
it's really intense. I have a really good friend who's in the Netherlands, so perhaps Dutch.
Huh. All right. Well, keep us posted. I'm interested to hear.
For sure. Absolutely.
Do you want to drop that African proverb now, or do you want to wait?
Yeah. So
you teased it. I just want to bring us back around to that.
Yeah. No, it's really deep, man. So the proverb in Kikuyu is, "Otoga we na madagu." Otoga we na madagu. Direct translation: wealth has wings.
Oh, dang. Oh, what a perfect segue. Because now I want to talk to you about the business model. Can you talk to me a little bit about Best Notary? Like, what do you guys do? What are you up to?
Yeah. So that's a great, amazing point, right? So wealth has wings. What does that mean, right? So be humble because you don't know what the future brings, right?
Oh yeah,
it might fly away. All that large or whatever you've been fortunate to have. It could. We know of many people who've lost their wealth. So
yeah,
we found ourselves after becoming a notary agency, serving a lot of busy folks by just matching them with a notary. Think of like an Uber for notarization. Before we had the tech to do that. Yeah. So there's a lot of notary agencies out there. They're helping a lot of real estate companies, bring the mortgage closing to the client's home. Mm-hmm. So we got pulled into estate planning when the pandemic hit, and we realized that there's a lot more need here than just for a notary, right? Their attorneys are doing everything themselves. These are really highly paid professionals that
Right.
are burning serious cash doing
Yeah.
admin work. But the reason for that is because there wasn't a service that they could trust to outsource, right? Maybe the printing and the proofing of those documents. They'd have to find local staff, hire them and train them, and then be able to hopefully go beyond the solo practitioner into a two-person law firm or more.
Yeah, right.
So we found ourselves being asked to help with not just the notarization, but the sourcing and vetting of witnesses, because the clients have a hard time finding a witness
that
that
makes
well.
sense. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right.
That's a big issue. Yeah.
Oh, big issue, especially in your state there. You need two witnesses who are not related to the person who's signing a will.
We make everything harder.
Talk about your recording system for moving for titles in real estate.
Oh my God. I know.
Some people refuse to do business in places like New York. Like, I'm not going to do business there because of the legacy, right? The archaic systems.
Oh yeah.
So essentially, we became what we call a document concierge for estate planning attorneys, or to bring that signing ceremony of that wealth preservation tool called estate planning, that those documents, the trust, the will, and the supporting documents, to the client's home, which means they can serve more clients across the entire state that they're licensed in. And, they can also work more efficiently, spend their time where it's most needed, which is a strategy, perhaps some rainmaking, talking to coaches like you, so they can start to think about, right, how they could grow their offer.
Oh, yeah.
How they could price it better, right? So we became more than just a delivery mechanism. We also became a source of trusted advisors like yourself, like all the amazing coaches that I bring to speak to them, trusted advisor speaker series, and also just to bring them ideas and tools and technology that they can use to grow their businesses.
So I feel like that's got to be really appealing for estate planning attorneys, because I talk to estate planning attorneys. They complain about all that stuff, like every single aspect of what you just talked about. Outsourcing that is like the dream.
Until they see the price tag, Jared, and then they go like, "Oh, no, hold up, wait, I'm currently not paying for this, because they're doing it themselves. You're paying for it in other ways,
right?"
And the question always is like, how do I pass the cost on to my client? What are your other lawyers doing, right?
Yeah.
So it becomes a conversation about how can you look at the overall picture of your business and not just the cost, the perceived cost of delegating the signing meeting, because it's taken off 6 to 8 hours off of what you have to do or manage.
I know, yeah.
Which means that, right, instead of you spending a couple hours, if you're billing at $500, even 3 hours is $1,500. So we charge a fraction of that and give them back that peace of mind and that time, and also allow them to really delight their clients with that kind of like concierge sign up home experience, either online. You now can thankfully leverage remote online notarization, which is this self-driving car type of thing where it's like, what, is that even legit? It's been legit since 2011. So a lot of education also, Jared, goes into what we do.
Oh yeah. I do think like a lot of the attorneys, and I think this is true of most business owners, they always look at the cost rather than the profitability. And if you look at it from a profitability perspective, it's kind of a no-brainer.
Completely.
So what you just said is interesting, because I think a lot of lawyers, if you talk to them about it, assuming they can figure out the profitability part of it, it's like, that sounds great, I'll do that. But I feel like the holdup for some attorneys is like you just said, is this legit? And is it legit? If I wanted to do like full scale outsourced estate plan stuff with you, like to the extent I could do it, like, is that available in every state? Are there issues that people need to be looking at as far as compliance? Because I could see that being a reason why people are like, maybe not for me.
When it comes to the mechanics, are you talking about the remote online or just like the outsourcing and having someone else take care of the notarization and everything else around
If there are issues with both, let's do both.
Okay. So let's start here.
We got nothing but time, man.
I love it, Jared. You are going right to the heart of this. Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying.
It's just lack of something similar to compare us to, right? But the only thing that compares to, honestly, is that local hire who you
Yeah.
bring into your office, right, under your supervision and control, right, either full-time or part-time, to do work for you, where you know that everything is safe and controlled. So one attorney told me that they didn't even think about hiring notaries because there is this fear in Massachusetts that this contractor, right, can be perceived as an employee,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just 4 years in, I'm learning about this, and I was like, wow, that's one of the reasons why you never even thought to outsource just the signing, just the notary part, right? Because you can print the document still and do everything else in house,
Right.
but just having that other person come and represent you in that signature ceremony seems like that was a challenge. And so when we come in as an outsourced company that isn't having that direct relationship with that contractor, that checks off that box, because now they're not potentially, misclassifying employees and risking that backlash from whatever the state regulating entity is.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, I think, one of the biggest things that I learned was a thing that, that prevented attorneys from thinking about this. And then the second one is, just making sure that everything else, if it's done properly, just the QA, that every notary block, is completed properly. Every place that needs a signature, needs a initial. These things can make or break, as you know, an entire, families, either going to probate or not. If something is off, you might end up going to the probate process.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So the stakes are really, really high. So I think attorneys are correct in being very careful about who they let do these things. And so I think by really taking somewhere in there, I got a paralegal degree too, right? So I knew enough to have the detail to create very thorough checklists and to vet carefully for notaries who already had experience with some estate planning signings. We love working with people who have worked at law firms, either as paralegals or as legal assistants. So now there's less, room for them to make some really egregious mistakes, like letting someone who is an interested family member sign off as a witness on the will. Right? Because, they're an adult over 18. Well, now when it comes to wills, if they're interested, if they stand to benefit, then them being a witness pretty much excludes them from being a beneficiary. So some of these basic things, right? That, for example, the trust has to be signed before the will, because the will is a pour over instrument. Mm-hmm. So this, I know this, but all the folks out there, we're just signing documents. But some of my
in whatever order. Yeah.
Exactly, right? So by having a signing checklist and us preparing the documents ahead of time and flagging everything with like color-coded, systems for the in-person signings, we're really mitigating a lot of the fears that attorneys have. And that's why they keep everything in-house.
How about, so tell me if I'm talking out of my ass here, because you know this better than I do, but are there different record-keeping requirements if someone's doing like a virtual transaction in some states?
Yes. So depending on the state, it's either 5 years or 10 years, but that's for the video, not the documents themselves.
Yeah.
Right? Those
do people have issues with that, or like, I don't know if I want to maintain that record, and then how do I do it? Like, what do you tell people about that?
So the burden really falls on the notary. That's really who is basically has to comply with the remote online notary laws. So because we have built our own platform, we bring the notary into the platform, and we've got the DocuSign with the 509 security features that are needed for that, right? The digital certificate. We've got the video storage mechanism to store those files, right, for 5 years or more. We have a journal with every document that was notarized during that notary session, so we can provide that to anybody upon request. And that is essentially what we do also for the notary, right? The notary may not have, a platform that, can do all of that properly. So we provide that for the notary as well. So it's a win-win. Also, there's very advanced kind of like identity protocols. We have something called KBA, knowledge-based authentication, which means we give you 2 minutes to answer 5 questions based on your public data that only you would know. And your name being unique, there might not be other people with that same name. So it's pretty straightforward for you to get 5 questions generated. You've lived in the US for a long time. So it might not work for folks who have not been in the US for a long time, who might not be U.S. people. So in those cases, we can bring a credible witness in, which is somebody who can swear that they know you and they can serve as your ID, provided that they pass the KBA. And then, of course, their ID gets scanned as well, credential analysis. So we provide all of this for the notaries. They don't have to figure that out for themselves, or
That's cool.
an expensive platform that might charge them a lot for each signing. So by also preparing the documents in-house, the document tagging, an estate plan has, 25 documents. Each of them have to be signed once or twice.
Yeah.
Some of them have choices to be made on the healthcare side. So we take care of all of those little pieces so that the notary doesn't have to. The notary is not typically a trained estate planning paralegal. So, right, that's going to be hit or miss if you go directly to a notary who's doing this on their own. So we've built something that's very bespoke, Jared, for estate planning, which is why a lot of attorneys are coming to us, especially when they're growing. Some of those more seasoned firms out there want the efficiencies.
Yeah.
So that's where we are right now, just educating and trying to improve that system so it's as efficient as possible.
I love process. All right. The other thing you mentioned, and this goes back to your proverb, you talk about trying to bridge the global wealth divide. So what does that mean to you, and why is it important to you as a business owner?
Well, Jared, not everyone in this country has the luxury of working from home. I find that I'm very privileged, as you are, right, to be able to do our work, right?
Yeah, yes, very much so.
And we're very lucky, right? That means that people have to take time off of work to drive to that attorney's office for that initial consult. And guess what? The lawyer's going to say, okay, when the documents are ready, I want you to come in and sign your documents. That's another, depending on how far you live from the lawyer's office.
Right, another thing to do.
3 hours,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then they might say, hey, now you got to come back and pick up the binder so we can go over the funding process.
Yes.
Do you see how this is kind of adding up here a little bit?
I'm already out when I have to leave my house.
You're like, right? So you've got small children, which you have to get care for them, right. If, you're the primary caregiver for them. So I think by removing those roadblocks of that in-person meeting having to happen 3 times, it could be 0 times if their attorney is leveraging a system like ours. So that's number 1, right? Number 2 is just the work that we take away from that, because most, firms are typically small firms that do this kind of work. Some of there's a handful of really big
there's
law.
not really massive estate planning firms.
Yeah. So by outsourcing the admin, the lawyers can serve more people, right? They can really focus on more of their speaking and do those seminars and workshops that typically is how people discover that they need this. And then just have higher throughput, because we're basically just giving them back all these hours. And they can hire that second associate if they're, truly enterprising.
Yep.
So by doing this, Jared, we feel like we are increasing access, right? That rural family that had to drive 5 hours to go to the next big town to get this done doesn't have to, because we're going to find those 6 notaries, there and equip them with the tools they need to deliver that. I have an attorney client who is lasted in both Utah and New York, right? So the first signing he had us do was out in LaSalle, Utah. LaSalle, LaSalle. This super remote town of 500 people. But guess what?
That's where I'm from. No, I'm just kidding.
Right? We rolled out 3 adults who met all the qualifications, and we orchestrated this signing. Yeah. It was a work of art.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Against all odds, right? I think the notary brought back a couple of family members as witnesses, because it was so hard. Because normally we find other notaries as witnesses, right? The main notary does the signing, because they're all trained in identifying people. They fully understand the repercussions. They might have to be called into court at some point. We always make our notary sign a little acknowledgement that I understand that by serving as a witness, I might be calling the court to testify.
Right.
Yeah. So
that is a beautiful story. That's cool. I mean, it's cool when you can do something like that through a business. Okay, so people may not be surprised to learn this, but I think I've heard that you've got your own podcast as well, right?
I do. So
this is kind of do I have it right? This is Eli Motivates.
Eli Motivates.
Yeah. I'm personally already motivated, but please go into it.
No, that was a little experiment. It kind of fizzled out after like 4 episodes because I don't think I understood how hard it is to
All right,
to
everybody. I'm looking in the camera. It sucks. No,
it's a lot of work. I mean, look at you. You've
it's
got
hard.
a producer that
I know, man. I can do
keeps
this
you
by
accountable.
myself.
I mean,
Yeah.
he was on time. You were not calling you out there. Look, we
That's
need.
every session.
Yeah, that's what he said to me. That's exactly what he said to me. Right? I was late too, by the way, Chad. So there you go.
Good. I feel
So
better.
I think when you're a founder doing a lot of things, you did the right thing. You found a professional to bring in to keep you accountable, right? To do the things that maybe you might not be great at. You might be a great host, and you ask great questions, by the way. But the editing, and the finding the right tool to use, and it's such a pain in the rear. So that's why I fizzled out.
Yeah.
But guess what? I'm gonna come back. Something even bigger.
Yes.
Something really big in the works.
Okay. Oh, really? Okay. Nothing you can talk about, right?
I mean, I could share the concept. So the concept, I'm going to call it Soju Wede. Soju Wede, a modern Sankofa story, right, is about the intersection of social justice, wealth, and death.
Oh, wow. All right. This sounds great.
Right?
I'm in.
Right? So, and the whole idea is, how do we, starting by acknowledging that we're all going to die, right? How do we
Wow, we took a dark turn here. No, please go on.
We did, because that's what we do. We're in the business of essentially death planning and distributing death binders to people. We hand out death binders every day to people who are thinking about death and take the time to put on paper what their plans and wishes are. So how do we leverage our time, treasure, and talent, right? Well, wealth, right? And wealth comes in all flavors, right? Social, financial, right? Influence. All of these things. How do we use all of that wealth to advance equity in a world that is extremely
that's
lopsided?
cool. Oh man, all right. I'm looking forward to. Let me know when that comes out. I'll definitely help promote it. Whatever form that takes. I love the concept.
Thank you. All right, for a long time.
Last thing I want to ask you. You also describe yourself as an ultra connector, which I really like. Yeah. How does one become an ultra connector? Is Voltron involved, or what is happening here?
No extreme body modifications. You don't have to become a transformer, right?
Yeah, that too. All right.
You do have to become a little uncomfortable, Jared. You have to kind of stretch beyond your comfort zone and say hello to a few strangers a couple times a day. I know that sounds like a lot, but
I'm in physical pain just thinking about it.
It's stressful, right? What if they're like a psycho? What if,
right?
What if they I
don't know this dude.
What if they're a hacker? Or they're hack my computer and then hijack me? We don't know, right? But I think by continuously reaching out to people and starting conversations, you begin to find that, this person actually could add a lot of value for my friend Wendy, who you and I both know. And then maybe I'm going to check with Wendy and see if I can make an introduction. So I think at some point I read Keith Ferrazzi's Never Eat Alone. I don't know if you know about him as a consultant.
Yeah, I've heard. Right, I think I haven't read the book, but I've heard about it.
The book totally changed my life because Jared Altucher is another kind of influencer online podcaster, right? And what he recommended was look through your contacts, see two people who look like they should know each other, and just introduce them. I don't even check, but just make an intro. And I was like, that is the weirdest thing that I've never done. Right? And proactively trying to add value. And Keith talks about having 5 packets of value, right? The 5 things you can bring to people that can help them, whether it's recommending a software tool, right? Dropping a news, tidbit that could be helpful for them.
Oh yeah.
Someone they should know, or a book they should read, because everyone, according to Keith, wants 3 things, right? Health, wealth, and children, right? And if you don't want kids, you might want a partner. So that's kind of how
that's a substitute.
Yeah. So if you can bring something to people that will advance any of those 3 things, they're going to notice you. And because we're all humans, and humans tend to like to reciprocate, because that's just how we're wired to become people who are altruistic. You're a philosophy guy. Then a good percentage will reciprocate, and the whole process is just to watch and see who is reciprocating. And David Ackert, who's speaking in our speaker series next Wednesday.
Ackert Advisory,
David,
if people are unaware.
David Ackert,
yeah.
Pipeline Plus. They do like biz dev advisory for law firms. So he's going to say that that's what's going to become your shortlist, right? 9 to 35 people that you can build an intentional relationship with where the value is flowing on both sides.
Yeah.
Right? So you, Jared, are in my shortlist because
wow,
you're putting me in front of your entire audience.
Literally billions
LinkedIn,
of people.
YouTube. I know. You're like this.
Figuratively.
Yeah. Right. You're a beacon of light when it comes to those ready to get out of their caves, right?
Yeah. Talk to my kids about that.
And you got that as Sampan. I just noticed that. See, you're resonating with your audience. So that's why, that's why I call myself an ultra connector. Is that now for me, it's a contact sport, right? My EA tells me that, half of her time she's fielding introductions. Both coming in and going out.
Yeah.
And that's how I think we're able to penetrate the estate planning industry and its adjacent industries, right? The wealth management, the kind of corporate trustee world. So by building these connections, now we're talking to some people in big law and starting to see where the gaps are there. So it's exciting. And also fundraising. We are raising a seed round right now, Jared. So that's when these connections become really, really important.
Yeah. I love that. That's a great pun. It's a contact sport. I think we should end on that note for the interview portion. Do you want to come back for another segment?
Oh, Jared, I would be thrilled to come back. This has been so cool to, as you said, right off the cuff, just riff through.
Oh yeah, and I don't script anything. People. I don't know if people think that's true, but I don't do a script.
I like it. It just flows. It just flows.
We'll be right back with Eli Angote from The Best Notary. Welcome to the Counter Program. We're back. It's a podcast within a podcast. This is a conversational space where we can address usually unrelated topics that I want to explore at a greater depth with my guests. Expect no rhyme and very little reason. Eli, welcome back. How you feeling?
Oh, I'm excited. Cannot wait to experience this.
Today, we're going to launch a new segment. It's called The Gift That Keeps on Giving. Now, Eli, this should be right up your alley. We're going to talk about death.
All right. Ooh, scary.
So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell you something really crazy that a celebrity bequeathed in his or her will, and you just need to tell me which celebrity it was.
Okay.
I got 6 questions for you.
Oh,
and this should be, I'll give you multiple choice. It shouldn't be too bad. Okay. But we'll just get started. We'll see how it goes. Let me know if you have any questions about the format as we move forward.
Sure.
Okay. This singer's will included extremely detailed and unusual instructions for the care of her cat, Nicholas. She stipulated that Nicholas was to be fed imported baby food, sleep in an indoor treehouse, have his bed lined with her nightgown and pillowcase, and be serenaded with her records every night. She also requested that the cat be married to a friend's female cat. Nicholas is living like a better life than me, frankly. I can't remember the last time I've had imported baby food.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Sounds really fancy.
So, was this singer Amy Winehouse, Dusty Springfield, or Janis Joplin? Amy Winehouse, Dusty Springfield, Janis Joplin, Nicholas's owner.
Wow. This, I think, is Janis Joplin, she passed? I believe she's still around.
Oh, Janis Joplin. Yeah, she died in like the late 60s, I think. Drug overdose.
She's a little of a hippie. I don't know if she'd be that particular.
Okay, right? All right. See, this is why I like having legal people on, because they reason things out. All right. So you're eliminating Janis Joplin.
Yeah. And then Amy Winehouse, she's kind of more like just a free spirit too. So this Darcy lady, I'm not sure who she is, but I think it might be her.
It is. And it's Dusty Springfield, Who was like she was like a 60s, 70s Britpop type of person.
Yeah.
You know the song Son of a Preacher Man?
I think I've heard it. Yeah. I think I have heard
That's
that.
Dusty
Yeah.
Springfield.
That's what she's
Yeah.
like. Yeah.
All right, number 2. This philosopher, this British philosopher, requested that his body be preserved and put on public display. So his body, dressed in his own clothes, with his head replaced by a wax effigy, is still kept in the glass cabinet at University College, London. Is this Jeremy Bentham, Francis Bacon, or Bertrand Russell? Jeremy Bentham, Francis Bacon, Bertrand Russell, whose body actually still sits in a glass case in University College, London.
I'm familiar with the last two, Bacon and Bertrand.
Yeah.
This first guy, I think, is weird enough. That's why he's not as famous. I could be wrong, but I'm gonna take. I'm gonna go with that Bentham fellow.
You're in my head, man. Jeremy Bentham. That's correct. He's still there. You can go look at it online. It's called the Auto Icon. I don't know that I would want to be going to University College London if that shit's happening. It's wild.
Bizarre.
All right, you're 2 for 2. Not to put any pressure on you.
Hey, I'm trying, Jared.
This German author and poet left his entire estate to his wife, but only on the condition that she would remarry. When asked for his reasoning, he reportedly said it was so, there will be at least one man to regret my death. Rough.
What a character.
Okay. Is this Franz Kafka, Bertolt Brecht, or Heinrich Heine? Franz Kafka, Bertolt Brecht, or Heinrich Heine? Oh, this will be good for when you learn German. All right.
Yeah.
Who do you like?
Kafka had those page-long sentences. I tried to read the Metamorphosis, never quite got through it.
I love that book.
Is he considered a philosopher, or is he more just like an author?
Probably more of an author. Yeah. So these are all authors. This guy was an author and a poet, maybe a philosopher. I don't know.
Right. Yeah,
I don't know.
Author and a poet. My goodness. I'm gonna go with the middle person. Pure guess at this point, Blake.
It is so we're now 2 for 3. It was Heinrich Heine. I know nothing about him other than he did this. All right. Let's move on.
Right.
This science fiction pioneer had a lifelong fascination with space. After his death, at his request, his ashes were put into a special capsule and launched into Earth's orbit on a rocket. Unfortunately, the capsule re-entered the atmosphere years later. But a subsequent space burial in 1997 worked, and his wife's ashes were later sent out on the same journey. So who had his ashes shot into space? Rod Serling, Gene Roddenberry, or Isaac Asimov? Rod Serling, Gene Roddenberry, or Isaac Asimov? Who do you like?
Familiar with those last two for obvious reasons.
Yes. Rod Serling, Twilight Zone guy. He's the guy who did the Twilight Zone.
Let's go with that Twilight Zone guy.
Oh, I feel like I led you astray on this one. You want to take a second guess?
Okay. I mean, I guess Asimov.
Oh, all right. Well, I guess I led you even further astray than I shot. Gene Roddenberry.
Star Trek, right? Star Trek?
Star Trek. Yeah.
Yeah, which very apt. I mean, something that one would do.
Makes sense.
Totally up his alley.
So Gene Roddenberry is cranking out somewhere past the Crab Nebula. I don't know. All right. We got 2 more for you. In this magician's will, he requested that his wife hold a seance every year on the anniversary of his death. He gave her a secret code of 10 words that, if a medium were to communicate them, would prove that he had successfully made contact from beyond the grave. Seances were held for 10 years, but the correct code was never delivered. Who was this magician? Paul Daniels, Tommy Cooper, or Harry Houdini? Paul Daniels, Tommy Cooper, Harry Houdini.
Dean is definitely the one that I recognize there.
Mm-hmm.
So complete crapshoot, but I'll go with Houdini.
Yes, correct. correct.
Nice
Yeah.
plant there, Jared. Nice plant.
I mean, how many famous magicians are there that are dead? I don't know. Like most of them
That's
are
right.
still alive. There's like David Copperfield, and those dudes are
David
all alive.
Copperfield. That's what I was thinking about. Yeah.
You've crushed it so far. I think we're at 3 of 5,
Mhm.
and I got one more for you
Okay.
to go over 500. 4 of 6. This would be a pretty heavy duty score in the counter program. Okay. This inventor was so proud of his creation that he requested to be buried in one. This former organic chemist had his children fulfill the request, and his ashes were placed in the named container and interned in his grave. So, was Earl Dean buried in a Coke bottle? Or was Frederick Bauer buried in a Pringles can? Or was Theodore Tobler buried in a Toblerone wrapper? So,
You're making this up. Seriously? All of them sound weird AF. Coke bottle, Pringles can,
it could
or
be all of the,
Toblerone right.
it could be all of the above, but it's not. Earl Dean, Coke bottle. Frederick Bauer, Pringles can. Theodore Tobler, Toblerone wrapper.
I'm gonna go with the Pringles can. Just goes to engineering wise, much easier to put together.
Well,
Did I get it?
well done. Pretty
Nice.
good, man. I'm impressed.
I
asked my wife the other day, I'm like, what do you think of this? Like, this guy was buried in a Pringles can. And she's like, well, Pringles cans are solidly built. So there we go.
Yeah, exactly.
Well played, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Modern sarcophagus, right?
Yes.
It's like a futuristic sarcophagus.
Yes. We'll all be buried in Pringle cans, shot up through the atmosphere.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. And also, you're going to become and speak to my trusted advisor audience soon.
I would love to. Yeah, that's going to be
And
amazing.
the podcast. And the podcast.
Oh, both. Yeah. All right. Awesome, man. Thanks to our guest, Eli Angote of The Best Notary. To learn more about Eli and The Best Notary, visit thebestnotary.net. Not .com, .net. The Best Notary, all one word, .net. Check them out. Now, because I'll always be a 90s kid, just heating up some Elio's pizza in the microwave, getting that motherfucker real crusty, but whose true passion is burning CDs for anyone who would listen. I'm now just doing the modern version of that, which is creating Spotify playlists for every podcast episode that I record, where the songs are tangentially related to an episode topic. This week's playlist is Songs About Death. Wow, that's uplifting. And it's sponsored by Coffin Flop from Corncob TV. I'm just kidding, by the way. That's not even a real show or even a real television network. But I wish it was. In fact, I'm going to call Spectrum right now and say, I'm not worried about this. I'm not worried about any of this. There's worse shit on the local news. Join us next time when I eat a soul. If those fucking flying demons from Harry Potter can do it, then so can I.